Basic project management. All right, here's what we're going to talk about. The power of project management, some terms, skills, tools, and tips as we go along through here. This is, when I think about project management, there's been very elaborate systems and processes created to do this. And, people swear it's you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. And I'm very much customize it to work for you. And I look for the things that work and I can fit into my process, my thought process, my mentality, my perspective, my mindset that work for me. So I want to kind of throw a lot at you in this class and kind of look for the pieces that will fit for you. I get real frustrated trying to follow somebody's whole complete other process. That's really hard for me. Like, I wouldn't do it that way. That's not how I do it. I'd go different on this. I'd do something. And that's okay. But for you to be effective in how you get something done, it's got to really match who you are, I think. So that's an important part of project management, is that it suits you and how you do things. So that's it. So what's my definition and the power of project management? Here's a definition. It seeks to achieve and define goals by using plans, schedules, and resources to execute activities within a set time frame. So there's some key parts to this, right? You're trying to accomplish something. That's really the end goal. You have a goal, you have something you're trying to get done, and that's the project in itself. And the management part is like, how do you go from not even beginning to hopefully successfully completing the whole thing? What are all the steps in there? It's a process. There's a management. If you just don't have a plan, or if you're not managing it, you end up reacting to life. Like, things just come at you and you just have to react to it. You don't really get to steer it very much. But when you're taking the reins of it through project management, you're kind of saying, okay, it's not control freak. It's not overly controlled. I mean, that can go too far. You got to leave some room for margin and flexibility and pivoting. But it's very helpful to have this. I have a goal and I'm working towards it and I have a plan to get there. You think about going on a vacation, right? You don't just say, okay, look, here it is, May 18th. Sometime this summer, I'd like to go on vacation. I mean, if that's as far as project management goes, good luck. You're not going to end up on vacation. It's probably not going to happen. But if you said, hey, let's have a goal of going to, the lake house or whatever, the beach, on July 4th weekend. Okay, so now you've got a time frame, and then you start the plan or the management of how you're going to get there, who's going to be there, how you're going to get there, what you're going to do when you're there, where you're going to stay, what you're going to eat, those kind of things, right? That's the project management of it. And people typically are project managers. They're not. Some people just like to go along for the ride. Like, I don't want to think. You you make all the decisions, you do all that, and it's nice to have those people because they don't really object a whole lot. But the real conflict comes when you have like two project managers trying to go in the same direction, but they're going to go a different way to get there, and they butt heads. So that becomes a problem. So there's a part of project management that's really easy if it's by yourself, but if it involves other people, it gets complex. It gets more involved. Okay, so that's the power of this thing, is you can actually realize some real goals. You can get where you're going. All right, what are some examples? Vacations, I mentioned that one. A vacation is an example. Starting a new business, that's a project, right? That's a project you'd want to do. Some of you are working on that. Learn a new hobby, right? Anybody have any new hobbies they're considering, or new interesting hobbies that they're thinking about? It's always interesting. Anybody have anything? Steve, you look like you got something for us.
I have a lot of hobbies. If you want to call them hobbies, we hope the businesses don't turn into hobbies.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Steve lives in Colorado, so he goes snow skiing. That's a hobby of his. So that's right. I mean, he's probably done it a long time, so he doesn't have to learn it. He knows how to do it. Right. Interesting hobbies. Okay. Home remodeling. Maybe you're going to do, these are some funny stories. How many of you know somebody, maybe you're in your own house, the husband decided that he was going to project manage the kitchen renovation instead of having somebody else do it. And he goes, no, I'm just going to save some money. Like 6 months later, their kitchen is still in disarray, and his wife's about to get rid of him because they're eating off a hot plate for the last 6 months because he can't get the thing done, right? We've all heard those stories. That's not a good example of a successful project management or a career goal. Like, hey, I'm making a shift, or in retirement, I want to do this, right? So these are projects. So lots of examples of how to do this. They can be big, they can be small, lots of things. All right, what are the terms that go into project management, right? Obviously goals, like what does this thing look like when it's done? If that's not clear, how are you going to know you got there, right? I mean, if you don't have a destination, when you use a GPS, The GPS is no good to you. You have to put in a destination. That's the goal. And then it tells you how to get there. There's a timeline. There's the timeline, how long it takes to do these things, and being realistic about the timeline is important. There's tasks. You break this project into small bites, right? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. So it's breaking it down into tasks. The scope piece is like, how big does this get? Sometimes project management experiences a thing called scope creep, where you say, oh, it's just this quick thing. It'll be really quick. I've done this with some software companies before, right? Like, we're just going to make a simple program that does this. And then somebody gets the idea it's got to do 10 more things, and then 10 more things, and then 10 more things. Next thing you know, the thing's really behind on schedule because it's gone from this really simple project to this really elaborate project. It happens when you build a house too. Like if you're building a custom house, you think, okay, we'll just start with the base thing. And then next thing you know, you're adding all these other things. And the builder's like, well, all right, we can do it. It's going to take longer and take more money. It's just scope creep, right? So milestones, this is when you break the project tasks into milestones. Like, okay, if we're going to the beach and you're going to fly, then one of the milestones is we have to buy our plane tickets in advance. We're not going to show up at the airport and try to buy them. So once we have that, we know that we can get there on that certain day. Another milestone was where we're going to stay. Once we've confirmed where we're going to stay, now we've got, maybe that comes before the plane ticket. Like you got to make sure you have a place to stay before you get the plane ticket. But milestones are these key markers along the way. There's the process that you go through. You may know what a SME is.
Subject matter expert.
Yes, subject matter expert. So sometimes you're asked to do project management about a subject or a topic that you're not the expert in, but there are people that you know or that you can get access to who are experts in part of this. So let's use the example of maybe renovating your kitchen, right? Maybe you don't, maybe like, I don't know, my wife's seen a bunch of catalog. She's seen pictures in magazines and online that she likes, but I don't know anything about the flooring or the plumbing or like that. You could have maybe a friend who's a contractor builder, and he becomes your subject matter expert, and you ask him questions like, hey, is it possible, or is this realistic, reasonable? Tell us what you think about this, right? I've got a friend who knows a lot about flooring. He does flooring a lot. So I call him up whenever I'm thinking about doing something about flooring in my house, right? You've all got friends, like there's the mechanic guy, and there's the health, you have a doctor friend or something. It's like, hey, he's a subject matter expert. I'm not going to just Google this thing and be ignorant. I'm going to go ask the guy who does it all the time. So you bring in a subject matter expert to help build out your project management and involve them. There's other stakeholders involved. An example with your family going on vacation, every family member is a stakeholder, because unless you just tell your kids what to do and they have no say, the people that are going all want to have a say in kind of what's going on. Same thing with the sometimes in a project that you're working on, there's the business owner, or there's the investor, or there's the people who are doing the frontline work. They're all stakeholders, everybody. And one of the big mistakes people make in a project management is you get asked to do project management, it involves other people, and you don't involve the people who are going to have to execute the project management. And they're like, wait a minute, we're not in on this, you've left us out. And so people are down on what they're not up on. So you have to kind of keep everybody up to speed on it, know who the stakeholders are in that process. Budgeting, I mean, obviously there's a cost to it. You got to be able to budget. Deliverables, this is what you in advance say, this is what I'm going to deliver when the project, through the process and at the end, this is what you get as a result of this project management, right? It's the tangible goal. It's that I'm going to provide a renovated new kitchen to you. You're going to have all of your travel plans complete and have everything in an itinerary. You're going to have deliverables as an itinerary, whatever it is. There's a life cycle, right? As you go through the process, that's part of the timing part. And then there's reporting. Some project management, if you're doing it for somebody else, they want reporting along the way. They want to know how you're doing. And to the degree that they're micromanagers themselves, they want probably a lot of reporting as you go along. Those aren't very fun to work with, but reporting is just the accountability part of, this is what we did, this is what happened, we were successful, we were not successful, these are the lessons learned. So these are project management type terms. Comments, questions on any of those? Some more terms. These are terms and also methods that are used in project management. There's a Kanban board. This was, I think the history of this is Chinese or Japanese process management, where, you compare this to, who was it? Ford, who created the assembly line, right? And on the assembly line, when they made cars, if one thing, everything was sequential, right? There's just a long sequence of everything being done. And if something happened, the whole thing stopped, the whole line stopped. The Kanban approach is like you break that assembly line into maybe 4 different assembly lines. So if there's ever a breakdown in the assembly line, the whole process doesn't have to stop. You can keep going in that one lane, and as long as there's no stoppage. The other lanes are separate. So the Kanban board kind of creates these vertical lanes by which you have tasks that are going on in there, but and there's some dependence, but they can still keep going, and everything doesn't stop because one thing in one area stops, right? So that's a Kanban board. So you see this with Post-it notes sometimes. That's been done where this is an example of like a to-do in progress, done process, where you can move that concept, in process, completed, however you want to label the columns, you can do that and move things around. That's a Kanban board. So there's lots of programs that use that type of, it's very visual too, which is nice. And so you can move these Post-it notes around, and it helps you kind of know where you are and where you're stuck and all. And there's the Gantt chart. Gantt chart incorporates tasks with time over time, and it lays it out kind of in this timeline type view. So you can kind of see how some things, don't have to be end to end. They can be concurrently with each other, but it helps you map out in this format the timing of how things are going to be laid out and executed in there. So that's a Gantt chart. So Kanban board and a Gantt chart. You hear about those terms sometimes. Okay. All right. The triple constraint. This is great. This is always a good thing to think about. If you've ever been a service provider for anybody, you've been up against the wall with some of these requests. So somebody comes to you, and here's an example. I was kind of over, let's call it the communications and the marketing part of an organization. And we would create graphics and website stuff and ads and, all this stuff. We promote everybody's stuff in the company. And people would come to us and say, hey, we really need to promote this. And it's a really big thing. We got this really big idea and we want to do it by tomorrow. And we're like, I can't do that, right? You can't, because this triple constraint, sometimes you see this as a stool, right? 3-legged stool. So you can, and the idea is, so many times you've seen this, you can pick 2 of the, if you look at quality, time, and cost, you can pick 2, but you can't have all 3. Like if you want something quality, high quality is going to take a lot of time, or it's going to be really expensive. Right? You can't get real quality fast unless it's really expensive. Right? It's going to cost a lot to do that. You can't get something really fast. Quality is going to suffer if you do something really fast many times. It takes time to do it with quality. Now, if you want the cost to be low, you need to give us a lot of time to do it, because then we can get it done over time. It's not a rush. So the scope of this and all, you kind of juggles these 3 constraints here of good, fast, and cheap. You can't have all 3 all the time. It's just impossible. You pick 2. Okay. So that's kind of a concept of project management that the requesters often forget and over-expect. But as the project manager, you have to remind them, no, here's reality. Here's how this works. we can't do miracle work here. This is going to take time, or it's going to cost a lot of money for you to get what you want. Okay, what kind of skills are involved with project management? There's a lot. I picked out 2 lists that I want to share. There's a planning skill. You got to be able to plan. You got to think kind of big picture. You got to be able to kind of say, how does this all fit together? How do the pieces come together to do this? A good project manager is not easily overwhelmed by the complexity or the enormity of a project. They kind of say, okay, wait, I got an idea of kind of how this could work, right? I can see how this breaks into pieces and how I can do this. If you freak out about the possibility, your project management skills are going to struggle through it, because you're just on fire the whole time. Strong communication. Unless this whole project is just you, you're probably going to have to interact with other people. And so be able to communicate with other people, keep them coming along with you, letting them understand why, right? Every time you do something different or ask somebody to do something, they want to know why. That's always the question. Why am I doing this? Why are you making me do this? Why do I have to do this different? Why are we doing this? I was in a GetSetUp meeting today, and they're rolling out some stuff. And I'm always asking, why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this? Does this make any sense to me? So the better you can communicate that, the better buy-in and support you're going to have. Leadership, you got to be able to be a leader. Leaders have hard conversations. Leaders take risks. Leaders communicate. Leaders have to have thick skin sometimes. Leaders aren't perfect. Leaders have to admit when they're wrong. Leaders have to be a servant leader is a good idea rather than just a dictatorial leader. Time management's a big part of it. Again, having a grasp of how time works and how things work in time. There are I know people in my life who have really no concept of time. They just have no idea how long it takes to do something. They think it's just going to be a real quick thing, and those people typically run late all the time, right? They're always late because they underestimate how long it takes to do things. Oh yeah, it's just here, here, and here, and here. I'm a little bit fascinated. I use the GPS in my car just about anytime I go anywhere. It's just real easy to pop in. I use Waze, and it's interesting to see the time, because a lot of times I'll look at how long it takes. I'm like, well, that's more than I would have guessed. That's, it's not because there's a bunch of traffic. It's like, well, just, you're going 20 miles. It's going to take you a little bit of time. It's not like you're just instantly there. We're not teleporting. So having a good grasp of time management is helpful here. And then being a subject matter expert. You can't be a subject matter expert at everything, but if you know a little bit about different things, that helps you have intelligent conversations with the SMEs that are subject matter experts, right? You don't get bulldozed by them or snowed by them, by their their fluffy talk, and they just confuse you. So that's it. All right. Additionally, I have a couple more. We talked about leadership, communication, influence. Can you influence people? I think that's a good part. Communicating facts is one thing, but influencing people, persuading people, getting them to come on board, that's another skill that helps you kind of keep them along with you. Otherwise, you're just telling them how it is, and there's a disconnect, right? Influence involves a little bit of emotional connection with them so that they're understanding what you're doing, and they have a level of trust. Conflict management, definitely, you're changing things. Things are different. You're going from a new A to a new Z, and people are going to get hurt and frustrated and upset and misunderstood along the way. So how do you manage that conflict? The task management part of it, I mean, that's a skill that people struggle with in personal life. So if that's hard for you personally, it might be hard for you in a project as well. The task management, risk management, how do you mitigate risk? Are you careless in taking risk, or are you super fearful of risk so it doesn't allow you to do anything? There's this risk reward assessment evaluation that you're constantly doing. What's worth taking a risk on, what's not, what's going to have a better payoff than not. Some of that's nuanced and comes from experience. You're coaching people along the way. And then the cost management gets into the budgeting, not just setting the budget, but again, how do you spend the money? How's the cash flow go? Those kind of things. So there's a lot in there. And all of these skills come in varying levels as dependent on the size of the project. All right, let me pause here. I want each of you kind of share with me a project you're working on, just so everybody kind of knows what you guys are thinking of. I've given you enough to contemplate here. Let's jump to Ruby, you there? Tell the class a project you're working on right now.
Right now, I am working on my Google Slides. I got them in there. I got all but one in there. I think I got 9 altogether.
Nice.
Yesterday, I just started, resizing the slides and playing with that a little bit.
Good.
I got some notes on there,
right.
for me to read off.
Good.
A couple of them. And let's see, what else did I do? My computer that I usually watch class in. Yeah. Something's wrong with that computer. For some reason, GetSetUp, the Zoom part is not coming on there.
Okay.
I could watch, a class and stay in the lounge, but it won't let me get on Zoom. Huh. So I'm wondering how that's going to work when I try to get my slide thing in Zoom. But anyway.
Oh, okay. All right.
But anyway, right now I'm just working with my iPad. Okay. So.
All right. So good. So just so everybody knows, she's working on a pitch contest that she's a part of. This is good. This isn't due. I mean, it's not due till the second week of June, right?
I know, but
she's working. Good job on jumping on it, right? I mean, bad project management is like, hey, this is due tomorrow. I better start on it today. That's like, that's not good project management. So the timing part is good, and you're identifying some of the roadblocks that come along the way. That's another term in project management. There's roadblocks that get in the way that you got to figure out. Like right now, Zoom's not working. That's a problem for you because you're gonna have to present in Zoom. So you got some time to figure that out. Good. Thanks for your example.
And I got a new book. Step-by-step guide to Google Slides.
Okay, so you got that's your subject matter expert. You bought a book to be your subject matter expert.
One of the reviews in Amazon, he gave it like 2 stars. He said, "This is a baby book. This is for people that have never, ever, ever used Google Slides before. And I'm like, that's the one I
You said
need.
perfect for you, right? Yeah, right.
Perfect
Good.
for me. So I got that one.
Well, good. All right. Well, good. Well, you're on project there. Jeffrey, any projects you're working on?
A couple things. I'm taking a class sponsored by Google IT support through Coursera,
Great.
and I'm also still trying to work on getting my clock shop going to repair mechanical clocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you mentioning that before, right? In another class months ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Good. So that's a big project. And
yeah, still
excellent.
Trying to get my name out there, and still got to get a shop set up too. So
okay, good. All right, good. Lily.
Hi, Kevin. Yeah.
Hey, Lily.
I'm working on moving to a more digital world in terms of file management primarily and
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I mean, think about that's a big shift for somebody, right? That you're making going from kind of analog paper to a digital, and so she's having to think about a lot of pieces that go into that, and what tool she's going to use, and her strategy, and who's going to do it, and all that security, all these kind of things are come into that. So, good example of another project there. Kieran.
Yeah, Kevin. At the moment, I'm not working on any project because I had recently taken retirement.
Okay.
I used to work. I'm a little familiar with the Gantt chart because I used to manage clinical suppliers in one of the biotech company.
Okay.
Where different groups used to be involved. So right now I'm more into gardening.
Okay, good.
After retirement. So I'm just thinking of what to plan when I'm going on vacation, how it will be taken care of and all that. Right. So that's right now only thing doing. Good. But I was just attending these classes to get a little bit more familiar of the Gantt chart that you are. I thought what you're going to go over. So that's what I wanted to. Excellent. So that I know that I haven't forgotten what the goals used to be.
Right. Good. Yeah. So it'll shift. Fun. I mean, you did a lot of project management in your work and now that you're retired, you're shifting and now you're thinking about different projects you're going to work on.
Right.
So good. Yeah. Good.
Little the work at home, how we want the flooring I have to done, painting I have to get it done. So those kind of things, how I'm going to do management of time over the year.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not something.
Good. Those are all important. Good. Patricia, how about you?
Not really. Not right now. Okay. I'm thinking about starting one.
Okay. All right. Can you say what it is or no?
I'd like to try to start a blog and get an online presence, website, practice some video editing, and so
great. Good.
Kind of a lot to bite off, but what the heck?
Right. Yeah, break it up into pieces and learn those things and start doing it. That's how you get going, right? It's all possible. Yeah, put together a plan and go for it. Good. Charlotte, how about you?
Hi, I apologize for background noise. I'm caregiving for someone who likes movies on right now, but I have a lot of projects going on right now, but the one I'm really deep into with the time crunch is I'm doing the planning around a huge camp for Native American ceremony.
Oh, wow.
And that's coming up in June. And it's
in June, like 2 weeks.
Yes. It's middle of June. So,
about
counting the days, but, there's a lot of time management going on with that and, volunteer management and, just so much planning. We haven't had a Sundance ceremony for a couple of years due to COVID.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot around, COVID protocol, just so much. much.
So how do you feel about it? Is it going to come together or what?
It is. It is. Having that ability to, just keep the goals in mind and, scheduling and, being able to, it's really nice to check those boxes off.
Right.
And I try to make sure I can do that at least every other day.
Good. It means you're getting something done.
Yeah.
So,
get it
you
all
know,
done.
some of these projects get really big and we have to delegate a lot, which for some of us, that's hard, right? We want to think we have to control everything and then we become our own worst enemy. We need to find some people that help us get things done. And sometimes we start out thinking we can do it all ourselves and we quickly realize, no, I can't this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to get it all done. So I need help. Or I need to change the scale. I need to scope it back down and reset the expectations and everybody. I know we were going to go to Hawaii, but we're just going to really kind of do a staycation this year. You know, you got to let people know as soon as you know, right? Let them know how things are. Okay, good. Randy, tell us about your project.
Yeah, I'm working on converting all of our family VHS recordings onto digital. So, and my timeline is get it done before Christmas so we can give it to the kids.
There you go. Good.
And we're going to upload it to either YouTube or the cloud or something like that. So, but I've already had some scope creep because it was first just VHS tapes, and now I got a box of 8mm tape dumped on me. So now I got to do a little research on how am I going to convert that. I think I have the right software and cables and everything to get it in my Macintosh and software. So now it's just I'm on the phase of learning the tools to get it all done now because I got all my hardware in place. So I'm kind of moving all else. My next milestone is learning all the software to get it done.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I did that with,
it's fun, though.
I had a friend that had a DVD player that I could, what was it? It would burn DVD. So I hooked up like our cameras, you know, VHS, VHS-Cs and all those into it. And I made a bunch of those DVDs. And now even like DVDs, I don't want it in DVD. I want to put it in the cloud. I want to put it somewhere where it's not going to deteriorate ever. Right.
Exactly.
There is a company that you can pay to do that, but it gets
expensive.
If you got a lot of it, it's not really affordable. Yeah.
Well, and I wasn't comfortable. Yeah. Because some people recommend that, but I'm going, well, I know, but now I'm giving them all my master copies of my stuff. And what happens if it gets lost in the mail?
Yeah.
Something gets happened. You know?
Yeah. You send it all in one box and you're like, I hope it comes back.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's good. Well, you got a timeline here. You've got till December. So
it's fun.
That's good. Yeah. Right. Good. Adele.
Yes. Well, I think I need a project management plan to manage all my projects. That's one. And of course, I'm in the accelerator program, and that's a big project. But I've got a deadline on this historical sign project that we're doing in town.
Okay.
And I'm collaborating with one other person, and I introduced her to Miro. Thank you for that. That was amazing. Good. So we started with hundreds of historical photographs and information, and we ran out of space on 2 panels to 3, and so we got funding for a 3rd panel. So the 3rd panel is what I'm working on, but the deadline is June, last week in June, because there's an all-school reunion, and it's crazy. Plus, the big roadblock was we sent all our information into our sign manufacturer, and she said, "Nope, too much for a sign. Why don't you guys just do it, and I'll drop it in." So I'm starting to do that on cork, a 4x6 sign.
Goodness sakes. Yeah.
Help.
Right. That's one thing, right? Even if you're good at project management, we can some of us could get in the problem of taking on just too many projects at once. And then that becomes our own, we become our own problem. We just can't get it all done. There's too many good things going on. And how do you fit that in? Yeah. Good. Steve, bring us home. What yours?
Got 3 things. I'm thinking about joining the Procrastinators Club. And the other one is, if you've ever heard of Paul's Principle, which is Murphy was an optimist. And the third one is, it seems like there's always something you have to do before you go to the next step.
Right, exactly.
But seriously, I'm working on the presentation, coordinating all that.
Right, good. Yes, excellent. Well, good. It's always good to hear. And it's good for you to verbalize what your project is, because the more clarity you have about what you're doing, the clearer it is to you, the better your chances of getting there, because you've articulated it well. When it's fuzzy, our actions tend to be a little fuzzy as well. All right.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
To the lady that was just talking right before this gentleman was talking, the one that's in the accelerator program.
Yeah, Adele.
Did you say Adele, did you say you was doing something in Quark?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love Quark. I have that program too. It's in my big computer that's kind of, I don't have any, it's not updated. It's really old, but is yours old?
No, I keep it up to date. I do InDesign too, but I prefer Quark. I've done it since the very first iteration of Quark. But we should get in touch. Ruby, we should get in touch.
Yeah, I bought a new version of Quark. It's a small version of Quark, and I just can't figure out how to do it, how to work that one. But my big Quark, I was good at that one. Okay, Adele, we'll talk.
Okay.
I used to use that program years ago too. It was the desktop publishing program for a long time. It was for all of that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I used them all. I used Ventura Publisher, Pages, but everything. But Quark is easy for me to use. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else I got here. What are some project management tools? Adele mentioned Miro. I teach a class on Miro. Miro is it's basically an online whiteboard, but it allows you to do a lot of things in there, from Post-it notes to mind mapping to diagramming to embedding videos, embedding documents, embedding typing text. Just think of this big whiteboard you had on your wall, and you could throw everything you wanted on there, and you can move things around and do that. It's really good for kind of planning visually in that way. And working collaboratively with other people, because you can share it with somebody else and you can actually work on the board at the same time with each other. It does Kanban boards. So Trello is a Kanban board program, which basically lets you have tiles and move them around in these columns and make as many boards as you want on that. So Trello is a little simpler than Miro. It's just a Kanban board tool. There's programs like Asana. Monday is another program that's used. Some of them are better for teams. These are all good for team or individual. Evernote's a simple note program. I don't have it on here, but I would put Notion on here. I do most of my project work in Notion. Those of you that know me, I use Notion and Miro a lot together. I teach classes on Notion and Miro here at GetSetUp. But anybody have any other tools they use in their project management? I mean, a calendar is a part of a tool. But Lily.
No, I'm not actually answering your question, but I use a mind map tool. But would it be possible to give a brief demonstration of Trello, or that's beyond the scope of this class?
I can. Let's see. What am I doing? Yeah, we got time. Well, Trello action. Anybody used Trello before? Nobody?
Oh, but it sounds interesting.
A little.
Is that Adele's used a little bit? Adele's used all. She's like me. She's used all these tools.
My head is going to explode one day.
Right. You gotta keep dumping the ones that aren't good and just keep using the ones that you like. Here it is. So I've got all these boards are already in here. So I've used it a lot in the past. I don't use it much anymore. But let me see if I can find one. All right, here's one on corporate training I did a while back. See what's in here. Okay, so this is pretty simple. So I created these different headings up here. So employee handbook, and then all these little cards are in here, and you can move these around. So I can grab this and I can move it to whatever list I want to put it in, even what order I want to put it in, which is kind of nice. Channel partner certification, more lists there. To add another card, you just hit that, type it in, card, and it's there, right? Really simple. And you can put notes in it. You can put descriptions in it. You can assign members, add labels, add checklists, dates, attachments to it, put a button on it. You can do all those things, and it goes right there. Okay. This one has an attachment on it. See a little paper clip there? Here it comes. There's this attachments right there. So you can embed attachments on that card. Ideas for teaching, course requests, channel partners. You can make as many columns as you want and do that. Let me show you one that's a little more visual.
Kevin, Lily raised her hand.
Yeah, Lily, go ahead.
No, that was left over from before. Thanks.
Okay, all right, yeah. You can, make it nice with these backgrounds. That's kind of a neat thing, right? That's a background look there. What else? Miscellaneous projects. I'm trying to see if I have anything that's got some images in it. This one I embedded a image in here. So this was probably a slide I made in something, and I embedded it in there. So when you click on it, it shows up in that tile. But it's just a Kanban board. So you decide that you create, they call them lists. Each column is a list, and you can put these cards in there, but you can put pictures in there. You can put, this has a couple more. This is a link to a GitHub link, and this is a PNG file. That's what it is. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I've got anything with pictures in it. This one I shared with other people, so they were working on it. So you can see I shared that board with them.
Kevin,
go ahead.
Kevin, does Trio have messaging between teams like Slack? Is it similar to that? Does it have that feature?
Could you message people? Yeah, let's see. Let me see this one. Oh, this one I didn't have any pictures either, but you can put pictures in here. So you can share this and do it. And then what else? The other one is messaging them. So you can share the link with them. And then I think, there's a way to do like commenting inside here with people. Let me go back to one of these that I had somebody else in it, which was this Lunch Boys one. It has these guys in it, right? So if I come in here and I say, okay, this one here, let's say I want to add members to this card. I could pick this guy here, and now he's part of this group here. And then I think, is there chat in here? Well, you have this whole right here. You can chat in here. Yeah. So, right.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So it lets you have a whole conversation with people on that card, and it would send notifications to them, and they would come in and see, I got to respond to this. See how now it says this? You can see it's got this little bubble here. Yeah, you can communicate inside of this by adding comments to those cards. So that's what that is. Yeah, I was trying to see if I had any more that had more. I'd spend a little more time putting images on, but I guess not. You can put deadlines, reminders, deadlines, things like that. So that's what Trello is. But that same type of Kanban board style is actually part of Miro. You can do that in Miro as well. You can embed Trello into Miro if you want as well. You can do that. All right, anybody have other tools they've used for project management that they like? I got certified in. Go ahead. Yeah.
When I worked at AT&T, I was actually an IT project manager for like 30 years at AT&T before I retired. And we used to use. Do they still use Microsoft Project?
I was just going to mention Microsoft Project. I was just going to mention that. I got trained in that too years and years ago. Yeah, it wasn't a bad program, but I don't know who uses it anymore. But
yeah, that's why I took this class. I wanted to see what the latest, greatest stuff was, because that's when I retired. That's what that was our main tool for. It was like one of the only few tools around at the time, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty robust. It did a lot. Yeah, you could put a lot in there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Actually, Kevin, I also used Microsoft Project before, so I joined just to find out what are the new out there now.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Just because, that's a real formal structure where you got to share, the Gantt charts with people, stuff like that. You think about, I was a part of a $100 million building project with an organization I was with years and years ago, and we worked with the construction companies with their big Gantt charts. They got these big packs of Gantt charts for every element of the building. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's just overwhelming. I like the high level view of that, but when you get down to the weeds of every task, and somebody's just doing their best guess on how long it's going to take to do those things, and it's not that helpful to me in that sense. But
yeah, it was pretty cool. We had someone on our team that's all they did was keep that thing up.
Yeah,
because it was constantly changing.
Constantly, yeah. and of all these contingencies, and then tell you what was going to run late because of that and all. Yeah. So I probably, I'm not talking about projects that big, because in our own life now we have smaller projects, hopefully that aren't that big, but that you could lay out. And but whatever, if the timeline really helps communicate to you, use that. Notion offers that. It's a part of Notion. They've got a timeline piece in there you can use in there. You can build that in Miro. Trello is just going to be Kanban. So whatever tools help you the best in there. Okay. All right. Final tips here. I've got clear goal. Really be clear as possible what your desired outcome and deliverables are. It's always interesting to me. I'll ask somebody, what is your expected outcome? What do you want when this is all done? Not just on a clearly project management basis, but even friends, family, you ask them that question, like, what do you expect to, when we do all this, what do you want on the other end of it? And some people don't even think about it. They don't even, I don't know. It just sounds like a good idea. And I think I'm just too much like, well, I want to know what we're working towards. I want to do the best I can to make sure we get there. Otherwise, we're just going to be kind of floating around out here. So having a clear goal, outcome, deliverable, that's important. Timeline, set a timeline. Like Randy's got, I want to have this done by Christmas because I want to be able to get these out for gifts, right? So he's probably saying, hey, we probably want to really get all your conversion done by December 1. So you have time to kind of package up what you want for gifts so that you have it for the holidays. Due dates. I'm big on the task manager calendar. That's a big piece I have. My task management calendar really helps me a lot to get things done. I teach a whole class on that in my time management class. Scope, don't let it get too big. When it starts getting big, break it into another project. Say, okay, we're going to do, this is part 1, and then we'll do part 2 later. We're not going to do part 1 and 2 together because we're not going to get it all done. It's going to make part 1 suffer because we're trying to do part 2 while we're doing part 1. People, involve people. If we do it by ourselves, what is it? Lily knows this one. If you want to go.
Oh, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Yes,
it's a great principle. So take people with you and involve other people. Don't push it on them. Don't force it on them. Walk through it with them. Let them be your supporters, encouragers. Update them. Keep them up to date on what's going on. Use your tasks, have some type of organization, some kind of process, as loose or strict as you want based on your personality and what you need, but it's too much to keep in our head. Have a place where it is where you can go to sleep at night and know, okay, I can go to sleep and not think about it because I know where to look it up tomorrow and keep going from. That's one of the things that's helpful, is that you have it somewhere so that you can go back to it and you don't have to think about it all of the time. So these are things that help us with project. And that's also how I'm able to juggle multiple projects at one time, because in my Notion platform, I have all the major projects I'm working on, and I can click from one to the other, and I can just focus on that one for a period of time. When I'm done working on that piece, I go click on another one and I focus. They're not all in one screen overwhelming me. That would be too much. So I can jump in and out of them, but I'd have all the information related to that project in one place for the most part. That's my process. All right. We talked about all those things. Any final thoughts, questions, comments? Anything else to look at?
I think one thing that Kevin, one thing that you may have mentioned, but I may have missed it, but is when you get all that plan put together is what we used to call it, kind of freeze it. And hopefully you can, because, like you said, you don't want any last minute changes. And, there's a whole other process called change management, but just freezing the whole thing. So then at least you have your arms wrapped around it and not stressing out about something else getting added later on or being, it's easy when you can take things out.
Right.
But if you want, like when I had the 8mm tape dumped on me in a box.
Like, that's a whole other project.
Yeah, that was a part of the plan. We were just going to do VHS tape.
Yeah.
So
right. No, that's good. And that's what I was saying about breaking it into, when it starts to get bigger, maybe it's time to break it into another project instead of just adding to it. Because if you keep adding too much to it, you don't freeze it and kind of say, I need to just do this. I want to do this well, and I'm committed to do this now, and then I can do those other things later, but not right now. This is version
phases.
Yeah, phases, or this is V1 and V2 is going to be later, and I don't have to finish everything right now. I just need to get started and deliver something.
Exactly.
that's one of the reasons why so many people don't get much done is they're so freaked out they can't get it all done, so they never start. And so if you break it into the smaller pieces and you think this is I can manage this, as long as, like you said, you don't keep piling on, because if you keep piling on, then you're back to, oh gosh, I've done it. Charlotte, you probably got people trying to throw more things at you, like, hey, I know we've been off 2 years, so we need to add more to it this year. We need to really catch up for the last 2 years, so we got to like double, triple what we've been doing, and that's tough.
It's kind of interesting. About a few years ago, I was in a gift shop and they had those towels that a lot of people hang in their kitchen, like Mom's Sweet Place. And the one I find really relevant is in 2015, everybody's 5-year plan was wrong.
Right.
Now, the significant question here is that I find that the more you have to delegate to other people and what's going on in their lives, the more unpredictable things become.
Right. Yeah.
So to me, there's a fine line between follow-up versus harassment.
Yeah, right.
And that to me is becoming a more delicate balance, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts, comments on that?
No, you're right. I mean, we know we can't do it all ourselves, but at the same time, not everybody's going to have as much interest in it as you are. And their whole life's going to get sideways sometimes, and they're not going to give the attention to what you need to do. And then you're having to do it yourself anyway. So to some extent, there's an art to project managing the other people and their time. Like, how much, like if I'm going to give Steve something to do, I'm like, well, how much time do I think Steve has for this? How much time is he going to get? How likely is he to bail on me on this? Or how likely is he going to this is something that's important to him, so he's going to do it. And you almost have to think for them and kind of assess how much can I give them, right? I'd rather give them a little bit and then impress me and then give them more than give them too much and then let me down. That's what I would do.